Hello everyone, I'm here with another mod release to celebrate the new year. Just a couple of days ago I released my Sujita and Kasei rockets in a package. This one is the big one though. This is the Raiz Aerospace mod and it contains lots of stuff. It's basically the whole pass-through system shebang, if you will. And it's all very complicated. There's probably too much stuff in it. The reason why it's so big, the zip file is about 800 megabytes. And the reason why it's so big is because I shared a lot of textures between things, so they can't be separated out like that. That saves me a lot of trouble in terms of being able to run KSP with all this stuff. But of course, it hurts in terms of making it a mod that people can use. The Raiz Aerospace mod is admittedly not one that I ever meant for people to use, except for me. It was my thing, but people do ask for stuff from it. So I'm just gonna release it to celebrate the new year, and you're on your own. Even the description on the GitHub, which I'll link in the video description, says that it's basically all used at your own risk. If you don't watch my videos, you probably aren't gonna know what to do with it. It's for insiders only, if you will. That's just how it is. So I'm gonna go through everything. Basically in alphabetical order, but I suppose I should, this is the headliner. Now, of course, the landing gear isn't from my mod, but the headliner is the Orion carrier plane in this. That's probably the most useful system in the whole business. The engines aren't included. They're actually part of the Sheer Strut engine pack. So if you have that, you have these engines. But you could just slap some Raptor engines from your favorite Raptor engine mod and that would work out. You'd need the sea level ones. That would basically be the same deal. So anyway, that's thing number one. But other than that, we have some adapters. And this is all to do with the pass-through system. And for those who aren't familiar, again, you shouldn't be using this mod then, but the pass-through system is the one where Kerbals can pass through the parts. And the parts are made for them to do so. So the first stuff, among the first things that I made were these tubes that they could pass through. So there's they're adapters, so you should search for adapter to get them. And so there's a straight one, there's a curved junction, 90 degrees, and then there's a T-junction, and that's it. So those are the first parts. And then we have some aquaponics. And again, this is because once the Kerbals are inside stuff, they could, you know, have a nice little thing to have plants in. But, you know, it's not hydroponics, it's aquaponics, so you can have fish. So there's a little aquaponics ring that's supposed to be inside a station, preferably with some artificial gravity to hold the water in place. If you don't have artificial gravity, you probably shouldn't be having this, but anyway. Or real gravity. But the aquaponics does input clean water and electric charge and output meats, greens, tomatoes, and wastewater. Well, yeah, so you haven't seen meats, greens, and tomatoes before. So these new resources are sort of part of the deal. And there's a config in the mod to add them using a community resource pack, which is a dependency of realism overhaul. So you should have it already if you're using this. So suddenly your whole save will have fish, greens, tomatoes, and yeah, those can be turned into pizzas with the oven. There's an oven. The oven looks like that, and you can it's a pizza oven most of the time. The fish is not part of the deal. Flour, clean water, meats, cheese, and electric charge. I didn't add the tomatoes into the mix there. And that produces food. So I don't know why there's two of them. I'll have to check on that. But I was supposed to add tomatoes to that too. But anyway, they're in the proper proportions, by the way. So this might seem overly pointless as far as Kerbal Space Program is concerned, but everything is about role-playing given the fact that Kerbals can move around inside things. So that's the whole deal. Pass-through is all about that. So we have care packages. These care packages hold food, so, or it could hold food. I mean, it's this care package is generic for whatever you want. You can apparently carrot doesn't show up. I think I may have used that model for something else. But there are cheese wheels. There's cheese. Okay, and there's corn and there's other things. I'll skip the foodstuffs for now. You can look in the folder to see the details. The next kind of thing that I've added is the ISS modules, but these ISS modules are pass-through. So previously I had released ones that weren't pass-through, so if you want those, that's fine. I think they're in the crew vessel pack. These are pass-through, so the Kerbals can float inside. And now with the gravity boots, that might be interesting in other ways too. And part of the reason I'm releasing these is because of the gravity boots, so that people can use them. In order to seal this off, because it's got the interiors, these models were made by NASA. So I just adapted them for Kerbal Space Program. So we've got the ISS hatch. I don't know why I have two. Sometimes I will have to trim some stuff out. I don't know why sometimes I've got two of things, but okay, well, that looks like it's turned 45 degrees or some angle because it's on this, but in principle, we would be able to attach this if it was on properly. This is the hatch that goes with these. Is it turned the wrong way? Ah. And that's the wrong node. There's two nodes on the front. Where we're supposed to be. Did I mention use at your own risk? Anyway, there's supposed to be two nodes there. I don't know what happened to the other one. But, okay, we've got that. And that's not the only module. There's Destiny. Wow, a lot of stuff pops up when you put Destiny on. There's the Destiny module. There's the Quest module. There's Leonardo. And they all have the proper interiors from NASA. And there's also Unity. So those are the options for the ISS modules. I don't have the Soviet side, unfortunately. Okay, so that's one type of pass-through thing, the ISS modules. There's a whole other pass-through thing. And I thought it'd pop up with dome. Oh, the domes right now are just Kerbal Constructs things. So you get some additional Kerbal Constructs things, which are domes that Kerbals can walk into. So you can place the domes, and there's a video on them, and I forget which one it is. So there's a bunch of domes, and Kerbals can walk into the domes. There's an EVA tank. So they can go in and get EVA propellant. That's technically not RO EVA propellant though, because normal RO EVA propellant is nitrogen, so you would have to, if you're, well, I guess I can't change that. So that's actually pretty stock unless you're using EVA propellant in RO. Flour bag. Well, that's another food thing. Flour? Yeah. That's the flour for pizzas. Pizzas are important to me, okay? I believe that you don't really have a proper base anywhere unless you can make a pizza there. These aren't the greenhouses. The greenhouse is a Kerbal Constructs thing. Okay, hab seat. So, once you're inside a pass-through thing, you need to have the Kerbals be able to sit down somewhere. So we have some custom command chairs. And this one... this one's a small one. I've got it turned the wrong way. Okay, that's a small command chair, and then there's just seat. And that's the big one. Oh, I've got a non-RO one. Well, actually, for the purposes... it looks like this one, the RO configuration didn't take, so it's not the right size. It shouldn't be that small. I'll fix that. There's a lot of stuff going on with this mod. Anyway, command chair, normal command chair. Okay, so that's the normal seat that they would be in. In all these things. Oh, I forgot the Harmony module. There is also a Harmony module. We're on H, folks. Okay, so actually it's not Unity, it's Harmony that we have. Okay, there's hydroponics. We got the aquaponics, but there's also a hydroponics thing. Hydroponics ring looks like this. Okay, so you grow like that on the outside of the module, and you have greens, tomatoes. So this would be probably for a module that's spinning around this way very lightly to generate a tiny bit of gravity. But greens, tomatoes is what it outputs. Okay, now bigger things. ITS Starship. ITS Starship is the 12-meter Starship. So if you wanted a 12-meter Starship, it's basically my old Starship model. It's not great, but it existed to prove a point, right? It was just to test stuff out. So yeah, it's just 12-meter Starship, that's it. Nothing fancy. Opens up like that, big cargo bay. There is the Kumo. If anybody ever wanted to try out the Kumo, there's the Kumo lunar lander as one part, and then there's the drop tanks, and then there's the lunar lander, which is a sky crane version, and then the separate cabin, and then the lunar rover version. So you can just slap wheels on this one. So there's that lunar rover cabin. There's the regular cabin for the Kumo lunar lander, which is differently shaped. And then there's the ones that are put together. So very unique shapes, of course. Okay, I talked about Leonardo. Mars Settlement is another one of those Kerbal Constructs parts. Next big thing, the Maru Q. Maru Q comes in two flavors, the original and the lunar version. The original version was meant for Mars. Let me just get rid of the Orion carrier plane at this point. Okay, Maru Q has the cockpit. It's hefty like this. It's two pieces like that, and then the engine blocks. And the engine blocks have little nodes inside the body for them. Keeping it balanced is not easy, admittedly. If you can't find a node, it might help to open up the hatch in the back and try and angle it. There we go. And so the idea with these engine blocks is that they turn so that they can have it lift off like that, so that it can potentially lift off horizontally like this from the surface of Mars, or with the lunar version, the surface of the moon. The difference between the two is just coloration, really. This has these kinds of tiles. The lunar one has a shiny bottom, and it's called Usagi instead. Usagi meaning rabbit, referring to the lunar rabbit. It's also got sort of more lunar dustiness. There is a set of tanks for the interior. So that's on the middle node. So there's a forward node for the forward engines, there's a back node for back engines, and then these tanks if you need them. There's a Hydrolox version. Oh, that's another difference. The lunar one is Hydrolox. The regular one is Methalox. And the hydrogen here is because of the fuel cell. So these would be the Methalox engines, these are the Hydrolox engines. And then there's also a different set of skis. The skis are complicated to explain. Let's just say that we don't want the tiles to get messed up, so it has skis. But technically, they can lift it to a vertical launch position if they work like that properly. So there's an animation like that. Okay, so that's the Maru Q. There's also a meats package, pepperoni and sausage. Now, the further development of the Maru Q was the MiniQ. Perhaps you are familiar with that one. The MiniQ is a single body thing, so it's not two parts. It's much slimmer, shorter, and trimmer in every way than the Maru Q, because I decided I didn't need as much cargo volume. The huge cargo bay was too much. It also fits in ISRU into it. Kerbals can walk through here, of course. That's the whole point. And then you can put the seats up front here. But that means you don't have an IVA. So this doesn't have an IVA. But there is a version that does. So there's this version that doesn't have an IVA. This one should have an IVA. So the one that says RA for Raiz Aerospace has the IVA. And so that's why it's closed right now. And there's nothing up front here, because the IVA is there. And otherwise, it's the same thing. You've got engine blocks, but the forward ones and the rear ones are not the same. So that's an additional complication. And that's because the shape looks different. And they're more pistony. So yeah, that's another system. Still using methane and oxygen here, but you could change that out if you want a different mix and use different engines. And then there's the MiniQ Prime. And to be honest, I think... Let me see. Oh, yes. The MiniQ Prime... I don't think this one has that feature. Yeah. So the MiniQ Prime is even a little bit trimmer. I don't know if we can see this properly. So kept wanting to cut out mass. So that's the MiniQ. This is the MiniQ Prime. It has positions for the drills for ISRU. So we had added ISRU units inside. And now there's drills. These are the ISRU units along there. And also, instead of having a separate sort of tank thing there, you can see we've sort of got it just narrowed there. And if you look there, I've actually got the tank volumes outlined. So those are the tanks that are intended to be in there. So that's the MiniQ Prime. It's just smaller. So I feel like it has a more realistic mass. I mean, mass-wise, but this is the fuel mass. So actually, it's probably carrying more fuel. Let's see, 20,500 methane there. It's about the same amount of fuel. I think I just wanted to make it more realistic, to be honest. So I felt like this was too optimistic for the masses, and this was more realistic. I think that's how it went. Okay, so MiniQ, that's that. Then there's the Orion carrier plane, but with the Orion carrier plane, of course, comes the Orion 3 space plane. The wings, you'll have to make on your own with procedural wings. It's just the body. The body has cabins inside. They are pass-through. There's two versions of the Orion 3. Oh, sorry, three versions. There's the complete non-pass-through. There's this one, which is fully passed. There's this one, which is fully passed through. So there's a place here for you to put seats and everything. And then there's the mixed one with the forward cockpit being an IVA, normal IVA, and then the back portion being passed through. So that's that version. This is the version that I would recommend you actually use. You can open the doors so that they can board. You might have seen me use this in videos. And there's also a hatch on top that they can use. You can put a docking port on there. Fit your own engines. I used the whatchamacallit, those engines from ESA, the new Prometheus engines. I used Prometheus engines, 2 of them, and tilted them. They are 1,000 kilonewtons a piece, Methalox, and I've put Methalox here. The reason why this has to be Methalox is because there's just not enough volume for Hydrolox. So it takes the realistic volume, it's back here, this is the fuel area, and that means that this is not good for trying to be stable if it's got the fuel still in. It has to deplete most of the fuel to be aerodynamically stable, okay? But that's all right, because at the beginning it's riding on the back of the Orion carrier plane, and so it'll be perfectly safe, I'm sure. But yeah, landing gears all on your own. The aerodynamic surfaces for this is also your business. Along with that, though, is the launch platform. You've seen me use this a lot because it's become the standard launch platform. If I can get oriented right. Oops, I've got it upside down. It's got tweak scale on it for you to customize. And then I was lazy with the launch towers. There's only 2 bits. And so oftentimes I just clip. But that also has tweak scale on. So there's this portion. There's the upper portion, which has the spike for, you know, the lightning spike. And then there's also the access level, actually. So that's the crew access arm, the upper bit, and that's the normal state of the tower. Kerbals can get out through that door if you put them in initially, which you can with all these crew capacity slots, up to 24, and then they can walk along that ramp. Of course, there are better solutions for this, I'm sure. There are plenty of mods with that sort of thing going on. Aside from the EVA tank that we saw before, there is an oxygen tank. Ah, there it is. Oxygen gas tank. Realistic mass for that amount of oxygen, actually. I looked up oxygen tanks. And there's also water tanks. Water tank. Same deal. With the whole pass-through system, there is the pass-through docks. So if you type pass-through, there's an assortment of different docking ports that hopefully, I think anything that's a pass-through dock will match up with any other pass-through dock. I didn't try to make it so that one kind would not, would be dependent on being with the same kind. I didn't do that. And so you use those with the adapters. And then there's also a hatch if necessary. So, yep, those are the docks you might have seen me use. The Kerbals can pass through them if necessary. Pizzas. There's a pizza. It's food. It contains food. See? An appropriate amount of food because it's a huge pizza. Okay, totally different system is the Shuttle Mark II and the Taurus. Look for Shuttle Mark II on my channel. It's been a long time since I used it. You'll have to put your own fins and wings on. But it's basically this body, and it has some MMH Mod 3 in the tail. Otherwise it has fuel cell, cargo room. It's just meant to be another kind of shuttle. So you should put the AJ-10 190s, the shuttle OMS engines in the back. It's got RCS ports. You can put whatever cargo you want in there. And it's just a little shuttle. Nothing too much to say other than that. It's just really small compared to the big shuttle. The Taurus was meant to be a competitor to Orion. So it's more meant to go to the moon. And it's meant to have enough fuel to capture around the moon and return. To do that, the whole concept was that we were going to use the shuttle's exact OMS tanks. The OMS tanks on the shuttle 2, the shuttle Mark II, are really tiny, but appropriate for its size if it's going to operate in low Earth orbit. For the Taurus, these are the shuttle tanks. These are the exact size of the tanks from the space shuttle. You put the AJ-10 190s, and by virtue of it being so much smaller than the full original space shuttle, that's enough fuel so that it can capture around the moon and return from the moon, about 1,600 meters per second. It's got its own wings. The flaw is that it ended up taking too many aerobraking passes through the atmosphere for it to slow down. Oh, by the way, the Shuttle Mark II is supposed to have a decouplable cabin, so that's what the decoupler there is. And there's also a payload adapter for it for the tail end. So that's the Shuttle Mark II with its adapter. The Taurus also has a vertical stabilizer, so there's already a vertical stabilizer for it. You notice this was at a time when I didn't know how to do the control surfaces. So for both the wings and the vertical stabilizer, you'll have to use procedural control surfaces from procedural wings. Okay, so that is the caveat. So more shuttles for you. I'm really into shuttles, have you noticed? Now, with the pass-through system, you might have figured that people need somewhere to sleep. And so I made sleeping berths. They're not great, they're old, but they're little wedge-shaped boxes that people can sleep in. Unfortunately, this is the non-pass-through one. So the Neo one, even though it says pass-through, I think they just treat it like a little thing that they, climb onto and then board. So it becomes an IVA thing. This one is the pass-through one. And you can see it's got a sort of sleeping thing there. Also a mattress at the bottom if they're in a gravity situation. So just in case there's a mattress down there. And it's got a variety of textures actually. If that worked. It doesn't work. Forget it. You're stuck with this texture. Okay. It's probably the... because the texture assignments are different now because I moved folders. Complicated stuff, I'll fix it later as usual. Anyway, so those are so that you can have the Kerbals sleep inside. They have a place to sleep despite the pass-through system, and you can assign them quarters. Another thing you might have seen videos on is the SLS Wet Workshop. So these were custom tanks for SLS. There's a Wet Workshop hydrogen tank, which stays a tank. There's the tail end here. Oh no, that's the inner tank. No, that's not the tail end. That's up here. If I can convince it. And then there's the oxygen tank. The oxygen tank is the Wet Workshop part, which means that the Kerbals can go inside. So we can open the hatch and there's an interior. I'm cheating here because, of course, it's going to start out as an oxygen tank. I guess it's not bad to have the floors in already. Probably with a full oxygen tank, it would be bad to have this stuff. It'd be bad to have the floors in, though. The oxygen definitely would not flow right like this. So anyway, we'll set that aside. There's even a computer there. So there's stuff already inside for the interior, but you can put more stuff. There's a treadmill. That's from the ISS stuff from NASA. I just took those and put them in here. And then the Kerbals can just float around in there, sit, go to sleep in their little berths, and you can place those things. They can have pizza. Use the oven. So that's all there for them. And then the idea was that the oxygen tank would be the habitat bit and the hydrogen tank would be for a nuclear engine. And so the thrust frame has to be different. This is a really icky thing, but it's only for demonstration purposes. So, so any other SLS model would be better than this for being SLS. But if you that mounts a little bit off. I probably meant for a different RS-25 to be on there. But if you want to do this thing, this is an option. So you put your nuclear engine in here. This is actually pretty big for that. I would use not this one. The nuclear engines, by the way, are from my Future Tech pack. The Raiz Aerospace mod is meant to work with this Future Tech pack. So if you're gonna put this huge mod in, you might as well put that too. So Timberwind, no, this is not the Timberwind. This is the NASA NTP architecture one. So this is a legit one. Sort of floaty there. There's enough space for a Timberwind there. The back end here is actually longer than the real SLS one just to make way for this. So it's different. Yeah, there's a wet workshop fairing for the top of this. So if you need that, that's there. That'll attach to the points on here. There are these curved solar panels. I use these from time to time. And they have tweak scale on, so depending on how big your thing is, you can tweak scale them. So just curved solar panels, very simple. I think it's 4 for the full curve. So yeah, 4 is how many go all the way around. They each cover 90 degrees of arc. There is a bunch of sphere tanks that I practically never use because there's 5 of them, and 5 is awkward, but the reason I made the part is because I wanted 5. The special thing about it is that the Kerbals can actually pass through them. So if you put these tanks in front here, the Kerbals can actually float right through here. So you can put as many of these as you want, and they're tweak scalable, but that might mean that they don't match up with the other openings and also the docking ports. So be careful with tweak scaling them, but they can be. Okay, whole other big thing. Starship Advanced. So this is the advanced Starship you might have seen me use. It's meant to be used with the Future Tech pack with the modules in front. So the Habitat number 2 or 3, I forget. One of those fits in the front of this. And then you've got the radiators in the back, the solar panels in the front, hydrogen tanks. It's meant to be, and there is an oxygen tank. It's meant to be a Hydrolox deal, but with a nuclear engine at the center, similar to SLS Wet Workshop. But also there are mounts for, ion engines on the side. So there's this advanced Starship Xenon tank that goes in the middle if you decide to use that option. So those are the tanks for the Xenon or your choice of ion engine propellant in the middle, and then they're really meant to make use of where the Lackluster Labs one I configured, which make this sound all the time. Well, anyway, and they'd go right into the slot here. And possibly more than one set, so. Just like that. So, that's the advanced Starship idea, and it would ideally rotate to generate artificial gravity by just a little bit of artificial gravity, and then the ion engines in the center help propel it in that situation. I think that just about does it. So there you have it. That was the Raiz Aero mod. Lots of stuff. I don't know if anybody wants the stuff, but I apologize for it all being in one lump. But Some of it I've released along the way, some of it I haven't. So a link will be in the video description. With that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.